is not a religion as such, which is a different kind of religion, but it is a way of looking at religion in general. I might call it a critique of religion. So another religion, so many religions. This is why Buddha is not a culture. Buddhism or religion is seen as a growth, evolution of the human mind. It's not rules to obey, follow the commandments. It is of growth and evolution to solve the problem of existence. So we are born into this world, we are ignorant. We are born, only know that born, that's all. And when we are born, we are it is fear that the infant cry even at the moment of birth. There really is of death. We might die. So a person who is born, being or animal, in the process of dying, we can prevent death. So feeling of insecurity that leads people to seek protection. Wants to protect. And of course, the child, the infant, by the parents or the elders who are looking after the child, begin to grow, mature. Then the parents are not able to protect. They are in the same boat. So why we begin to feel for others, not the only people or individual. It's the only person who is in this security. Everyone is. So they begin to look for and the normal. The human being conceives of called we refuge God. Now, the dependent way of thinking things in a health-dependent way. But as people begin to become more mature, the power of thinking, diligence, begin to evolve, reason out and think. In early times, when people were able to understand what is going on in the external world, all the natural phenomena were by spirits. They thought good spirits were doing good things and bad spirits were doing bad things. Spirits were called gods and the bad spirits were called the devil. But the human intellect improved. They began to discover the right things happen in the world. Everything in the world, everything happens due to the presence of the necessary conditions. And this what determines that people understand what determines these various occurrences of phenomena. As people began to understand how things happen, the idea of spirits and gods gradually began to disappear. Things began to become more they were able to make machines to do, able to look after themselves to a great extent. The process of civilization to be civilized is to gain mastery over the universe. So real mastery over the universe is the effort to achieve self, to fit in to the changing environment. Changing the environment, adjusting ourselves, or adapting to the environment. The whole process of evolution takes place when just forms of which in the form of plants and animals. Evolutionary process was a gradual adaptation to the environment. We are not really controlling the environment, we are adapting to the environment. When cold, we put that warms the body. We cannot walk on a certain kind of ground. If it's raining, we use an umbrella or cover ourselves. So, the way of adapting the environment, we are not really controlling the environment. people began to become more and more self-reliant in this way. Began to that we can look after ourselves to a great extent. Ultimately, it is the human intelligence that is able to do this adaptation. So now the adaptation, which earlier physical adaptation, turns into a mental when we begin to use mind. This is why we look at religion. It has been also a method of adapting to this environment. Early human beings, they prayed to the gods. Their religion. They made sacrifices. They did all kinds of rituals and ceremonies that the gods would help them. People became mature. They began to realize that they had to not pray to gods, to begin to live a different way. So, called ethics got into religion. More severe. What is bad and destructive to us and others, and to begin to think in the right way. And also found that we have emotions, and emotions to carry along destructive the emotions hate and selfish thinking, think only of ourselves. We began to realize that it's important to purify the mind. If we behave in the proper way, behavior is based on thinking. Purification of mind is called meditation. Came effort to pure mind. The concept of God began to change. In the first stages, God was seen as some supernatural power. people began to think in terms of good behavior, to judge someone like a human being and rewards, and become angry. Sometimes become very kind. It is. Of the purification of mind, God, universal intelligence, or universal soul, we could go and unite. To think in terms of every individual has a soul and begins to unite with this God. That is but the age beyond that. And when it comes to the high level, you realize that God is a new concept. And the concept perfect in parts, one who is perfect. So that God becomes the ideal of perfection. God is the ideal of human perfection. Beings conceive and to of religion. Practice of religion becomes an effort to reach a state of perfection. And we find that this state of perfection has been realized. This state of perfection called Buddha. Buddha is not just an ordinary human being, just a philosopher like Socrates or Plato. Buddha is man, woman become. Buddha means one who is awakened from sleep. Means the ordinary person is not fully conscious, although we think we are conscious. Conscious of dream, really. This dream is the dream of existence. Taken from this dream of existence, it realizes that we don't really exist. Our idea of existence itself is an illusion. It's a dream. We are able to wake up from that dream, that we become fully awakened, and we become a Buddha. The goal of the Buddhist is to reach that state of perfection. And from the Buddhist point of view, you progress to that state of perfection. The practice of religion is a gradual process of evolution of human consciousness. It begins. Starting point is perfection, and try to reach that. It becomes our goal. It is really when Buddha becomes our goal that we come. Is a person whose goal has come, the Buddha. In order to attain to that state, we have to appreciate that, live that. What we do today depends on our sense of values. I think money is the greatest thing in the world. I'm doing everything to get money. I think sensual pleasures is the greatest thing in the world. I sacrifice all money to sensual pleasures. That set of values that determines our goal in life. So begin to realize that the first value in life is to reach a state of perfection. Then begin to in that direction. So comes the orientation of our life. Our life begins to turn in that direction. So goal is best appreciate this highest good and goodness. What we call Saddha. Saddha. Sat means what is good and true. Dha is to uphold. Uphold goodness. Now, common saying, "Is right is might, or might is right." Now, might is right. Might or power is the greatest thing in the world. But if we say right is might, saying that goodness is in the world. And religions have been personifying this goodness and calling this God. And religion is personifying evil and calling it the devil. Buddhist point of view, God is the personification of goodness and is the personification of evil. These are being somewhere in heaven or hell. So important thing is to see, I believe that he was saying the same thing. In the Gospels we find Jesus saying, the I are one. And the Jews take up stones to throw at him. Says, a lot of good to you through Father in me. Which good are you trying to stone me? And say, well, we are not trying to stone you for any good you did, but blasphemy against God. You an ordinary man, you could be the Son of God, you're insulting God. Then, if you know whether I am the Son of God, my behavior, what my Father does. Children of the devil, your Father does. You are trying to kill me. Very clear what he means by God and devil. God is the personification of goodness and is the personification of evil. Sometimes I say Jesus was a Buddhist. The important thing is that God seen from a Buddhist point of view is simply this ideal of perfection with the human concept. It is the human being that ultimately is able to reach that state of perfection. And the human being reaches that state of perfection. He is called Buddha. Buddha himself has identified himself as God become, Brahma Bhuto. The word for God was Brahma. Brahma Bhuto means one who has become Brahma, or one who has become God. So it is incorrect to say that Buddhism is an atheistic religion or philosophy. It's neither theistic nor atheistic. The theist thinks that God is the creator of the world. That's the difference. Where the humanist thinks that the God is man himself in perfect form. So that state of perfection is for the human being to rise. So it is a human potential that has to be actualized. That's what God means. So to be able to appreciate that ideal of perfection is the beginning of the path towards spiritual perfection. That is the meaning of spiritual perfection. All religions speak of uniting with God. What uniting with God? is becoming God. Just as a river that flows into the ocean, when it enters the ocean, it becomes the ocean. So the same way, when a human being unites with God, he becomes God. That's the true union with God. There is no reason for anyone to think Buddhism is atheistic or Buddhism is not a religion. It's not correct. There are really two kinds of religions, the theistic and humanistic. The Western religions like Judaism, Christianity and Islam mainly it could be polytheistic or monotheistic, still theistic. Now, theistic means that God or that perfect person is seen as the creator of the world. That's the problem. And that the human being is seen as a sinner. And human being can never become perfect like God. Human being can never become equal to God. Human being can only be forgiven by God. The human being cannot even affect himself without help from God. Weakness, like the child, weak. But if you take a religion like Hinduism, they also believe in God. They also believe in a creator of the world. But the difference, this is that the Hindu, God is not an outsider there. God is within you. It is your own soul. The Hindu, you are God, but you have forgotten that you are God. What you have to do is to realize that you are God. And to see the unity of the soul creation. So highest enlightenment for the Hindu is Brahmasmi, which is I am God. To realize I am God, greatest enlightenment. That is humanistic way of thinking rather than the theistic way of thinking. And when it comes to Buddhism, God is not seen as a soul that pervades the universe. That's the difference between Hinduism and Buddhism. When that soul disappears, God is seen only as a human concept, the concept of action. The human being struggles to realize. So that's the important thing. Saddha is when we have understood this and appreciated this and have seen that all the sufferings of the world can be brought to an end only by accepting oneself and purifying one's mind and reaching the state of perfection and becoming God. Seen as the solution, the problem of life. The problem of life is birth, old age, disease, death. Meaning the unpleasant, from the pleasant, not being able to satisfy our desires. This is the problem of life. If life was created by God, He has created suffering. That's the Buddha's point of view. But Buddha doesn't believe that it was done by a God, or it happens due to the presence of the necessary conditions, the deterministic. And so, the solution has to be by the human being himself, not by depending on some external supernatural being. Thereby it is a humanistic religion.